Hello everyone and welcome to the calculator tutorial for everything you need to know about binomial. So the example we're going to look at to be able to enter some things in here is a 20 question multiple choice test with 5 answer choices. And let's say that you just didn't study at all for this test and you have no clue what any of the answers are, so you're just going to guess for everything. Which, as we'll see, not a good plan. In that case, though, our number of questions correct is binomial. And n, our number of trials, is 20. And p, our probability of a success, well, success in this case would be getting an answer right. So this is 5 answer choices. Probability of getting it right is 1 in 5.2. So those are the values that we're going to use. And you can see already that this is not a good plan because our if you did the expected value of x, n times p, 20 times 0.2, well, that's only 4 questions, right? Out of 20? No, that's not good. That's a F. So, but we want to find specific probabilities. And so let's say we want to find the probability that x equals 6. And so just to remind you, the formula for that would be 20 choose 6 times 0.2 to the 6th times 0.8 to the 14th. So in other words, you're looking to get 6 right and 14 wrong, and here's how many different ways it can happen. In the calculator, the way you get to n choose k, those combinations, is over in the math menu. And if you scroll over to probability, so again, that is math over to probability, and you're going to see this button called NCR. NCR. This is my combinations, or n choose k. And depending on how your calculator is, you might type this in a little bit differently. Some calculators you need to type the first number first, and then NCR, and then the second number. So like 20 NCR 6. It just depends. On this calculator, though, we're going to put a 20 here. We're going to put a 6 here. And this will give us 20 choose 6. So if you ever need one of those combinations, then there it is. So that's the number of different ways we can have the 6 correct answers out of 20. And so then you can take that and multiply it by the rest of the formula. But there's an even easier button for the calculator to do. So if we go second vars and go to our distributions, this is usually where we've seen our normal distributions, but there's also ones, if we scroll down, for binomial distributions. And so we have binomial Pdf and Cdf. So binomial Pdf is the one we want if we want an exact value. So something like getting exactly 6 questions correctly, that's going to be PDF. And you'll notice that it'll have me fill everything in. You're going to put in N, you're going to put in P, you're going to put in the value you're trying to find. So 20 is our N, that's the number of questions we had. P is 0.2. And our X value that we want to know the probability of getting exactly 6 right. So on the AP test, you're going to need to show the work. You're going to need to show the formula. You're going to need to be able to describe the distribution. But actually working out the long calculation, let the calculator do that work for you. 0.109. And so just to keep us all up to speed here, that's going to be Binomial Pdf. This is for x equaling a value. N, comma, P, comma, x. Whatever value we're looking for. This will give me the probability that x equals our particular x value, is exactly that value. Now, let's say that we want to find a range of values. Let's say that we want to find the probability of getting at least a certain amount correct. So not just exactly 6, but maybe we want a probability of more than 6. Or the probability that we get a passing score. That's going to be pretty low. That is where Binomial Cdf comes in. And we're going to put the same parameters in here. But what Binomial Cdf is going to tell me, Cdf, same parameters, n, comma, p, comma, x, would tell me the probability that x is less than or equal to whatever value I put in. So let's say that instead of the Binomial Pdf, this time I do Binomial Cdf. So second distribution. I'm going to scroll down Binomial Cdf. And it's going to ask for the same thing. Number of trials 20. P is 0.2. And our x value, we're going to use 5. And so what this is going to give me is the probability that x is less than or equal to 5. In other words, the probability that I get 5 questions or fewer correct. And you'll see that that probability is pretty big. That's about an 80% chance of getting 5 questions or fewer correct. Which should make sense because our expected value is at 4. So that's our mean. If 4 is our mean, then getting 5 or less should be pretty likely. And it should be very unlikely to pass the test. And that's the next question I have for you. And so I actually want you to take a minute, pause the video, and think about this next question. If I want to know the chance of passing, this test. Remember, passing scores is at least a 60%. How would I find that probability? What would that probability be? And what am I going to type in the calculator? Take a minute, pause, and think about that. And welcome back. Hopefully you worked that out. That this would be the probability of getting at least a 60%. A 60% out of 20 would be 12. So x being greater than or equal to 12. Here's the problem. And hopefully you kind of spotted this when you put it in the calculator. Because if you put the Binomial Cdf with 12, it's going to give you a pretty likely chance of passing. That doesn't sound right. Because you didn't study. Shouldn't pass if you didn't study. And so, greater than or equal to 12, well, I want to put it in terms of a less than or equal to probability. And so that's easy enough to do because we have our complement. Let's take the opposite of that and then subtract it from 1. 1 minus the probability of x being less than or equal to 11. So in other words, what we're going to put in our calculator is 1 minus Binomial PDF or CDF? Well, we want less than or equal to. That's going to be CDF. PDF is for specific values. CDF is for a range of values. Remember, we use normal CDF for normal distributions because we're always looking at a range of values in normal distribution. And so we're going to put 20, comma, 0.2, comma, 11. That's what's going to go in the calculator. Remember, it's n, comma, p, comma, x. N and p are parameters in general of the binomial distribution. And as I go through the calculator, some of you will notice there's a geometric one as well. I wouldn't worry about it too much because I think it's easier to just think about the formula for geometric and just do it that way. I think that's just easier than trying to memorize it as a new formula. So first, I want 1 minus for this answer. And then I want my binomial CDF for a range of values. 20.2, this time I want 11. And I'm expecting this probability to be pretty low. 1.01 times 10 to the negative fourth. That means it's 0.000101. So about 1/100% chance of passing just by guessing the answer choices. So that's how we do our binomial distributions in the calculator. To recap, the math menu and over to probability will give you the tools you need if you just want the combinations. The n choose k, the 20 choose 6. If you actually wanted to calculate out the whole binomial, that's out in the second vars menu. And PDF gives you specific value. CDF gives you everything less than or equal to that value. So that's everything to do with the calculator. And if you have any questions on it, feel free to bring them in for the next class. And I will talk to you then.